So I got my first Umamusume at A rank, and I actually was able to repeat the same success a couple times in a row. And in this video I wanted to share some tips, my observations and thoughts about it. Is it worth it? Is it necessary to do so? And so on. So yeah, let's begin. And yeah, also don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, leave a comment if you have some better ideas, if you figure out something else. It's kinda interesting to share experiences and so on. Also, I wanted to let you know that I have my own Discord server, so if you're enjoying my content and want to stay updated, the link is going to be in a pinned comment. You're always welcome, feel free. So when we're talking about getting yourself an A rank Umamusume as a free-to-play player, there are several important topics to keep in mind and, let's say, strategies that you need to follow. They're mostly going to be about, first of all, the potential of your Uma, and obviously you want to get it as high as possible. For this you need to complete career and some special tracks with this specific Umamusume to get the materials to be able actually gain your potential level. This is going to make life a little bit easier because from the very beginning you're going to have couple skills that might be helpful, and some of them obviously they are going to give kind of decent amount of points into the final score of your rank. So this is going to be helpful just for you to keep in mind. You want to progress this. Yes, it's going to cost some materials, it's going to cost some gold, but it's definitely worth it. The other moment that you need to follow is going to be actually pretty much straightforward: your legacy Umas. And the higher sparks from your legacy Umas you're going to have in a certain stats, the better result you're going to receive. In most of the cases you want to focus during the whole run, during the whole career, on basically two stats, especially if you're a free-to-play player, because building up the friendship with your support cards isn't going to be an easy one task. Is going to take you more time than it's like 5-star or something like that, and you want to get yourself some legacy Umas that are going to boost specifically these tasks that you don't want to prioritize during the run, but they're going to be important. So these you're going to define on the specialty of your Umamusume, and if she's going to focus, for example, on long distances, on medium distances, you really want to focus a little bit on power, a little bit on stamina. I believe more on stamina, because in most of the cases you're going to have like speed cards, probably wit card, maybe one stamina card, so you want to cover these two stats the most. Let's say this is going to be an important one. And yeah, obviously, I mean, if you're kind of focusing on cards for speed and you're doing speed trainings, you're also receiving some additional stat points into the power. That's how the training for speed works. The same thing when you're focusing on wit, you're going to receive some additional stats into speed. So the most, let's say, stat that you're going to miss is going to be stamina. That's why you want overall the most amount of points into stamina and a little bit into power, because again, you most likely don't want to hit the stamina training and power training. A little bit more about support cards in details a little bit later, but yeah, let's keep going. The other moment to keep in mind is going to be an affinity rating, obviously, and there are a couple guides already exist on YouTube from other content creators who are explaining really in a good and accessible way how affinity is working and what you want to get from it. So just a simple explanation is going to be based on the interactions between certain Umamusumes, between different characters. Some of them they're going to give more points in affinity, some are going to give less, and ideally at the end you want to get yourself a circle, or even better, a double circle. So if, for example, I'm going to show you real quick, for example, these two characters, it based on their legacies and their, again, interactions between each other. As you can see, I have a double circle. So what does it mean? When you're going to have inspirations for your Uma that you're training right now, it's going to receive more sparks, means better stats, and sometimes it actually, with a higher chance, may trigger a golden inspiration. It basically, when you see the golden sparks during this cutscene, it means that you're going to receive kind of decent amount of sparks and a stat boost. So yeah, ideally you want to get yourself a double circle. It's not always possible to do, and you need to balance the stats that are required for your character. So in my case, I was specializing the most on Aguri Cup. She's kinda a universal character, she deserves special attention in terms of a guide, a separate one, and it's not a topic for this video, let's say. I'm mostly focusing on the rank. During the career, you should understand what kind of goals you need to achieve, what kind of tracks, what kind of races you're going to follow, and you wanna adjust ideally some stats from the very beginning. So for example, from Aguri Cup, I know that I am going to have 3 types of distances. They're going to be mile, they're going to be medium, they're going to be long. And obviously, to cover them all, you need to have a specific set of stats and ideally the highest possible ranks for the distance. So in my case, the strategy that I was following, I was choosing one legacy from my side, which is going to boost the long distance. Why is it working here? Because, for example, from the legacy Uma that we have on the right side, you can see here is the character who has 2 sparks in the long distance. Yep, so thanks to her, I was able to bring long distance from rank B to rank A, and that helped a lot, pretty much straightforward. I was able to get myself some other characters that are also have like mile, medium and long distances in their sparks on the second half, I mean the second legacy, and sometimes during inspiration I was getting an S rank for mile, an S rank for medium and S rank for the long distance, but they were not really that suitable in terms for the strategy of overall building my Umamusume during the run. Again, we're going to keep in mind that I need to focus mostly during the career on 2 stats. Yep, and obviously during inspirations, these are the moments when you're going to receive the most amount of boosts for the stats that you're not covering, for example. And when we're talking about characters, as in our case Aguri Cup, she has 3 distances once again: mile, medium and long. They're all kinda long distances except for mile, so for mile it's not going to be that important, but for all the other, and there are quite a lot of them, such stats as stamina and power, they're going to be really important. So when I'm going to lack with these 2 stats, I'm most likely going to lose the runs. So once again, how am I able to avoid such situations? I am focusing on stamina and a little bit power. A little bit more stamina, a little bit less power, and in my case, let me see, this one character. So yeah, as you can see, I have quite decent numbers in stamina, and whenever I'm going to get an inspiration, I'm most likely going to get myself quite an improvement for this stat. These are not the best Umas for overall rising my Uma, which I want to, because you wanna have 3 characters in a single one legacy, I mean the parents and grandparents, who have 3 stars into a stat parameter, and ideally you want to have it again stamina and power. So for example, for this I want to have ideally 3 stars. For this one character again, I want to have 3 stars ideally here as well. It's going to give you the most amount of boosts, and during inspiration it's going to boost overall your growth kinda a lot. Here the same situation, like only one is going to be with 3 stars, other 2 with 2, but that's fine. Again, ideally you want to have 3 and 3, and all over the place 3 stars. So that's what you're aiming for, to get yourself such Umas who are going to be kind of decent legacy Umas. At the end they're going to boost you a lot and improve your progression of other characters that you're going to build afterwards. But for me that worked pretty much well. So during the run I'm going to show you now what kind of support cards I was using and what I was doing in terms of strategy. So overall for this character you can see at the end what kind of stats I had, and this is above 1.1k for speed, more than 600 for power, almost 500 for stamina, 900 wheat. Why so much wheat, you may ask me? Well, maybe it's not a top priority, I'm not sure about it. Again, I'm not the expert in this game, but I kinda saw a lot of players, they're investing a lot into wheat stats specifically for PvP actions, and I guess in such situations this is going to play kinda a huge role there. So about the career info, you can see what kind of cards I was using. They are 3 speed cards, there are 2 wheat cards, and obviously for a friend card I was using Super Creek, which has advancement 3. I would say this is enough. Ideally you wanna have it higher, and if you have this card for yourself you can choose whatever is needed for your friend card. The top priorities obviously are going to be the fine motion, because it's going to also provide certain skills that are kinda important in our case, and here I'm referring mostly to Speed Star as well. It's a golden 1 skill, and yes, it's working for Pace Chaser, and in terms of Aguri we want to use her in a pace chase style. This is going to be the best overall strat. The other one important is going to be Special Week, and from event we were able to get her up to advancement 5, so for those of you who completed the event fully it's not going to be any kind of issue, but if you were late you probably wanted to find friends who have this card at higher advancement, because again Gourmand for Pace Chaser, which is going to recover endurance, and this is one of the most parameters in our case for our specific run for this specific character. Why is it going to be the case? So once again, when we're going to have a look at our character here, you can see that stamina are kinda with low numbers. What does it mean? When we're going to have some longer runs, we're going to lack on stamina. We won't have enough of energy, let's say, enough of HP to cover the track. So we need to have supportive skills that are going to help us to recover this stamina. And overall, I didn't feel the lack of stamina. I was able to complete the whole career without a lot of issues, because I was using specifically skills from Super Creek, from Fine Motion, that are going to recover our endurance, our stamina basically, during the whole run. The wheat parameter is also going to increase our chances to activate certain skills. This means that you most likely are going to use all of the skills that you picked for yourself during the run. And obviously if you're building some specific UMA for certain goals, or you have the legacy UMAs which might improve certain distance and you want to decide for yourself afterwards some special skills that you're going to use, it's better to save your points at the very beginning, the skill points, and use them most likely at the end when you're going to complete both inspirations. After that, all the distances and styles and tracks, they're going to be defined based on the legacies that you've been using after inspiration once again. So after that moment, after the second inspiration, you feel free to choose whatever skills you want to use, but again, most likely you want to focus on some golden skills and skills that are going to be above 100 points, because they're going to give you the most amount of points into the ranking system, and you want to get, after all, some decent amount of them. Yep, this is going to be an important one topic. And why at the end? Because during your career, during training your Uma, you're going to receive hints from these or that characters, support cards I mean, and this is going to boost the discount for certain skills, means they're going to be cheaper, means you're going to get more of them, and most likely you're going to get a higher score. The other important stuff is going to be again about certain stats. So the higher stats, the higher numbers you're going to have here, the more points into your ranking system you're going to receive. And by my test, by my understanding, whenever you have a single one skill at S rank, the other one is close to S rank, and probably some of them, all of them at C, or really close to B, or even one of them is going to be B. This is going to be exactly the moment when you're going to receive A rank. So yeah, have higher stats is quite an important one topic. And ideally, during the whole career, you want to avoid such situations when you're going to kind of waste certain trainings. You want to increase your training amount, you want to use almost every turn for training, and you want to avoid such situations when you're going to lose your runs, when you're going to get third, fourth, fifth. As you can see, for example, here I have only 1 second place. All the other runs I won them, and if you're winning them, you're going to receive more amount of followers, more amount of fan base. What does it mean? You're going to have access to other goals without any extra work, because most of Umas that you have, they require a certain amount of fans to actually get access to the next one goal. If you're not going to complete it on time, you're going to lose your career run and you're going to restart everything from the very beginning, which is unfortunate. Now I'm going to show you overall the status of my character almost at the end of the run, for you to understand where I was and how it actually looked like. So here, as you can see, I am almost at the final goal of my career. Now the most important thing is going to be, you can see what kind of stats I have already. So by the end I have almost 1k speed, I have almost 800 wheat, and for the power and stamina you can see. Overall during the run I didn't use any trainings into stamina or power, at least not like really that often. They're all of them at level 1. The mood of your character is going to be really that important. You want to have it or at least good or great. This is going to increase amount of points, amount of stats that you're going to receive from trainings. And yeah, most likely you want to build the friendships with certain cards the most. So some of them, they're going just to get into a necessary position based from their, let's say, description. You can see that they're going to be for some specific training the most amount of time. So in my case, during the whole run from the very beginning, I was focusing only on 2 types of trainings, and sometimes when it was really that important, on some other, like for stamina or for the power, when I had 3 or 4 Umamusume there at the same time, because again it's going to build my friendship level for many cards at the same time. Sometimes actually I met such situations where I wasn't able to get the skill from Super Creek during my run, which is unfortunate. I'm not sure how actually her events are going to be triggered, on what kind of stuff it's going to depend, probably on the relationship level, but it's not always the case. I actually see sometimes such situations when I'm getting the full amount of events from a certain support card without even building just a single one time the relationship with this card, which is kind of crazy. It is what it is. Maybe it's random, maybe I don't know something, so if you know something, just let me know. What am I missing? But yeah, again, for the strategy, I was always running and switching from one type of training to another. The beginning is pretty much straightforward. I'm starting with the speed, then I'm trying to recover some stamina with the width training, then speed again, and going back and forth. Sometimes when it's necessary, when I have a lot of Umamusume at the same time on the speed training, I'm hitting it, I'm reducing the amount of energy that I have, and then I'm doing the rest. It's pretty much straightforward, but overall I want to reduce amount of rest and want to maximize amount of trainings. The width training is going to be a little bit more difficult than speed on its own, just because in our case Aguri, she has certain buffs for speed, for power. She's getting more points into these parameters, into these stats. That's why, for example, speed it was kinda an easy one, and in most of the cases I was focusing only on width training when it was kinda important. When I had two Umamusume with the rainbow effect in the speed training, I was hitting that 100%. And yeah, it's a little bit about RNG, a little bit about your luck. If you're going to get your Umamusume support cards into a necessary one type of training, let's say, how often is going to happen, and so on. A little bit of RNG, but here's the run. You can see, you saw my stats. The skills, they're working fairly decent. They're all activating on time when it's needed. At the very beginning, at the mid raid, at the mid race, and finally our, let's say, ultimate, it's active and we're getting the first place, even without having a lot of points into power, without a lot of points into stamina, because skills that I'm going to receive from my support cards, especially the golden one, they're going to improve my situations with the stamina, and it's going to be kinda an easy one. You're not going to feel a lot of difficulties. Also, I have a feeling that pace chasers, they're kinda easier to build because you have so many cards that are kinda universal, and majority of you are going to have them, or you're going to have friends who are going to share them. And yeah, they are really a lot of them for pace chasers. So for Aguri, it's kinda a necessity almost to use that style of a run. This is going to be just the easiest one to complete and get yourself the highest possible rank. Also, here is another example with the lower rating, with the lower stats, but I was able to complete fully the whole career, even with having like C rank for power and D rank for stamina. You can see I didn't use any trainings like at all in stamina during this run. I was able to receive a little bit more skills, the additional golden one, but overall not something crazy. Everything for endurance, everything for ability to get out of such situations when you're going to be blocked, especially for the final corner. For pace chasers, this is going to be just great. High numbers into width, high numbers into speed, and even compared to that one character that I have shown you before, these are worse stats. But overall that was enough, even without some crazy numbers in stamina and power, because of the skills again that I've been using. So yeah, this card, Super Creek, is really that important. The Gourmand skill that you're going to receive, or for promoting of your character, let's say, or from the special week card, this is going to be a decent one. and also fine motion, the other one skill. So yeah, basically 3 support cards that you need to complete the full career with some decent stats, with some decent rank for any Umamusume who are going to run longer distances and using the pace style of a run. So at the end, my final thoughts, let's say if it's necessary, if you really need to aim for A rank, not really. I mean, it's kind of helpful because you're going to receive some additional rewards, but you still need to work on some stats that are going to be important based on your preferences, what are you aiming for. And for example, if your main goal is to compete in PvP, let's say, maybe it's not the best thing to focus on only 2 stats. Only if the distance, if the track is going to match this one strategy of stat points allocation, let's say. But yeah, as far as I'm observing the top players in PvP, they're really focusing on width, they're really focusing on speed, and they're really focusing on power. The stamina, again, they can be mitigated with certain skills. So overall, this probably is going to work, but ideally you want to focus also on track ranking, on distance ranking, on style ranking. This is going to be the whole topic about the legacy Umas, and sometimes they're not going to provide you certain stats that you need. You're not going to receive all the points from inspiration that you need, so you need to balance things out a little bit and follow, let's say, overall the idea of what kind of reason for you to build Umamusume with some specific stats. If you want to get yourself a good one, a legacy Uma, if you want to get yourself an Uma who is going to be competitive in PvP, or if you're just enjoying, I don't know, this character and the career campaign, it all depends on your goals. But overall, it's not like the main priority. In my case, for example, if I'm going to show you the team for PvP that I have right now. So yeah, as you can see, I have 4 Umas at B rank, some of them B+, and only a single one with A rank. What does it change? Pretty much nothing. Obviously, the more you're going to progress, the higher ranks you're going to receive, the more stats are going to matter in terms of runs. But overall, for my level that I have right now as a free-to-play player, that's more than enough. I was focusing on stats that are kinda important for certain distances. I was focusing on strengths that my characters have. I was trying to build them in a way to improve certain distances that are going to be kind of met by them. And yep, overall I'm winning in most of the cases, so my win rate in PvP is probably like 90% so far for now. Yeah, at least 3 out of 5 runs I'm able to win pretty much consistent with all free-to-play characters, with all free-to-play cards. That's pretty much it. A rank isn't that important, and you shouldn't work in a way to harm overall your development. Only if you want to get some additional rewards, and that's pretty much it for now. Especially if you're a free-to-play player, you need to balance things out. I believe that's pretty much it. I covered the most important topics. I provided some ideas and my, let's say, observation, understanding of how this is working, and hope this is going to be helpful for some of you. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys in the next one. Take care.